Shabbat Shalom, welcome back to the Light to the Nations channel. In this video today we will continue with the part number 9 of the study of the last days. As you know, in this study we are creating together a timeline with the sequence of events, the chronology of events of the end times. So far in the previous 8 parts we have been analyzing different prophecies throughout the entire scriptures that has been helping us to understand this sequence of events. We have been analyzing the words of Yahushua HaMashiach as it is written in the book of Matthew chapter 24. We also have been studying the words of Shaul in Thessalonians. We also already analyzed some of the prophecies in the book of Revelation, Hazon, in the chapter 6 and also in the chapter 13. We also analyzed some of the words in the book of Daniel, and we have been able to identify the different keys that has been helping us to understand how to connect those prophecies and how to identify the different aspects, the different signs, and also the different sequence of all the events of the end times. It's been an amazing journey so far because we have been able to let the scripture to speak by itself, because that's the only way that we are going to be able to understand the truth. That's the only way that we are going to be able to identify the signs, and that's the only way that we are going to be able to follow the way of YaHuWaH, understanding what YaHuWaH wants to let us know, and not to be deceived, not to go astray, just to rely on the word of YaHuWaH. Again, I have been telling you this in the past. Don't trust on me, don't believe on me, believe in the word of YaHuWaH, rely just on YaHuWaH. You need to do your own research. Use this study as an input in order to analyze the word of YaHuWaH. It's the Ruach HaKodesh that is going to reveal you here in your own heart if what we are reviewing in this study is the truth or not. So that's my invitation for you. Take this as an input, read the word of YaHuWaH, analyze this study this topic together with me, and this is the only way that we are going to be able to understand the truth. For me, it's been an amazing journey, just to analyze the different prophecies, just to connect the dots, just to understand how everything is going to happen, and actually how everything is already happening in our days. Okay. Before continuing, I want to ask you to include in your prayers a brother called Ed. He sent me an email a few days ago, and he's in the process to make a big change in his life. He's trying to start with a project, a homesteading project, but he's finding some difficulties to sell his house currently. So he's asking my prayer and your prayers in order to YaHuWaH to open the doors and to continue with this tremendous project. It's not an easy one, but it's an important one and an amazing, a wonderful project. So keep Ed in your prayers. And as I said in the previous videos, keep all the body of Mashiach in your prayers, because we are living in exciting and dangerous times. So we need to support each other in praying, in fasting, in crying out to YaHuWaH to help us, because He is our salvation through Yahushua. And it's written, I think, in the book of Hosea, that everyone that is calling in the name of YaHuWaH will be saved. And this is the time to cry out to YaHuWaH, because He is our salvation, and only in Him we have protection in these days. So today we will continue, as I said, with this study, and we are gonna. Sorry for that. We will continue with the part number 9, and we will analyze an important aspect that is related to the two witnesses. Again, we are not going to analyze in details what are the two witnesses. We are just going to analyze how in the timeline the two witnesses are gonna appear. My invitation, like always, if you have any question at the end of this study, send me an email to lightoeverynation@gmail.com. I have some emails pending to be answered. I'm expecting to do it today or tomorrow. So anyways, if you have any question or comments, send me the email. I'll try to answer as soon as possible. So let's start. I'm gonna share the screen with you. We are gonna analyze the part number 4 of the Great Distress. Okay, and as I said, we are gonna discuss about the two witnesses. So where to find about the two witnesses? This is in the book of Hazon, Revelation. Book of Hazon, Revelation chapter 11, and this is from verse 1 to 13. Sefer Hazon, Book of Revelations, chapter 11, verse 1 to 13. And it says the following: And a reed like a measuring rod was given to me, and the messenger stood saying, Rise and measure the dwelling place of Elohim, and the slaughter place, and those worshipping in it. But cast out the court which is outside the dwelling place, and do not measure it, for it has been given to the nations, and they shall trample the set-apart city underfoot for 42 months. I want to stop here for a moment because I highlighted this in red because it's something very important and it's a key in order to understand other aspect of the prophecy, and we will see it in the next slide. We see here YaHuWaH measuring the dwelling place of Elohim, but he's receiving a specific instruction not to measure a specific place. It's the court that is outside, but it's because an important reason, and I want to stop here in this important reason, and is what is highlighted in red. Because the messenger, the Malach of YaHuWaH, is telling him that the set-apart city, and what is the set-apart city? This is Jerusalem, has been given to the nations, and they're gonna be in control of the nation, of the city, for 42 months. And this is quite important because we see the relation, and you will see it in the next slide, about this timing, about the nation taking control of Jerusalem for this period of time, and somehow is connected to the first beast and the authority of the beast, and also the timing of the two witnesses are going to be prophesying. Is Jerusalem is becoming, and it will become the center of all the prophecies. And we have been seeing so far in what is written in Lucas and in the book of Luke, in the words of Mashiach, and also we are seeing it here. Okay, so it's important you to keep in mind Jerusalem is becoming in the prophecies the center of everything that's going to happen in the near future. Let's continue in the verse 3. And I shall give unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clad in sackcloth. So we see here the appearance of the two witnesses, and we see here that their prophecy, their purpose, they have been appointed to prophesy during a specific period of time, and this period of time is 1,260 days. And I want you to keep in mind basically the two times that we see here in this chapter in the book of Revelation, Hazon. The 42 months that the set-apart city, Jerusalem, is going to be under the control of the nations, and the 1,260 days because of the two witnesses, because two times are totally connected and related to each other. And I covered this in one of the videos about the calendar, and this was one of the witnesses in order to understand that the month has 30 days only. Because if we calculate the 42 months and we multiply for 30 days each month, we end up with the 1,260 days. And just a note here is this is very important because these days, if you already saw the study about the calendar, are not considered in the 4 intercalary days. So those are days without the reckoning of the four intercalary days. We need to add the 4 intercalary days in order to understand how this, in the calendar point of view, is fitting in the prophecies and in the times. Okay? Very important to note and understand that point. Let's continue in the verse 4. These are the two olive trees and the two lampstands that are standing before the Elohim of the earth. This is an important key in order to understand the who are the two witnesses. And there is an important passage in the Tanakh, in the book of Zechariah, where we see exactly the same wording about the two lampstands and the two olive trees. We are not going to cover this in this video. Most probably later on this study, when we start to analyze the meaning of each one of the prophecies, we will analyze about the two witnesses and the relationship between the two olive trees and the two lampstands. Let's continue in verse 5. And if anyone wishes to harm them, fire comes out from their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wishes to harm them, he has to be killed in that way. These possess authority to shut the Shamayim, the heaven, so that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy. And they possess authority over waters, to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues, as often as they wish. So it's important that during the office, the purpose, and the prophecy of these two witnesses, they will perform signs and wonders. And it's so important because when we will see it in the timeline, we will see that their prophecy is going to be during an important time. And we will see that during that time, there will be signs and wonders that are from falsehood, that are just with the purpose to deceive the people. But also during the same time, we will see the signs and wonders of the two witnesses, that the purpose of YaHuWaH is to give us a beacon, is to give us a point of reference to understand what is his true way. Okay? So let's continue in the verse 7. And by the way, just to mention, because it's important, there are two thoughts about the two witnesses, and this is something that we will analyze when we review the meaning of the prophecies. Some people believe that the two witnesses is Elijah, Eliyahu, and Moses. This is one line of thought. And the second line of thought is that it's going to be Eliyahu, Elijah, and Enoch. So it's very important to keep those in mind, and when we're going to be able to understand and analyze the meaning of those prophecies. Okay? And then the understanding of that is basically because of the signs and wonders those two witnesses are going to perform. So let's continue in verse 7. And when they have ended their witness, the beast coming up out of the pit of the deep, and this is important to understand, is the beast is the first beast that we already analyzed in the part number 7 of this study, is this first beast that it says should fight against them and overcome them and kill them. So this is an important key to understand when the two witnesses are gonna appear in the scenario of the end times. Is the first beast the one that is gonna fight with them? Is the one that are gonna overcome them? Is the first beast the one that are gonna kill the two witnesses? So, in order for that to happen, the first beast needs to be present on the earth. The world needs to know the beast, and the beast needs to be in authority in order for this to happen. This is the key in order to understand when the two witnesses are gonna appear on the scenario. Let's continue in verse 8. And their dead bodies lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Mizraim, where also our master was impaled. So this is very important, because we see here a tremendous reference to the great city being Jerusalem. And this is going to help us to understand other aspects of the prophecy that we are not covering today, but we will cover very soon, and it's related to the Great Babylon. Okay? So we see here is that, and the reference where also our master was impaled, and we know that YaHuWaH HaMashiach was impaled in Jerusalem. So we see here that the connection between the great city and Jerusalem. So let's continue. And verse 9. And some of the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations see their dead bodies for 3.5 days, and not allow their dead bodies to be placed in tombs. And those dwelling on the earth rejoice over them and exult. And this is quite interesting because I wonder, when I was reading the first time that I was studying this chapter, I was wondering why the people and the nations were rejoicing over the two witnesses being killed. And it's quite important, and and we will see it in the next line. It's something that only today can happen. And why I'm saying that is because what is written over here. Let's continue. Let's read again the verse 10. And those dwelling on the earth rejoice over them and exult, and they shall send gifts to each other. So they are very happy because of what happened, that the two witnesses were already killed. And why is that? Because these two Nevi'im, these two prophets, torture those dwelling on the earth. And the normal understanding or the normal interpretation of this is that the Nevi'im, the prophets, torture those dwelling on the earth with the different signs and wonders that is written in the verse 5. But there is another aspect that I have been following so far, is that how two persons in our days can be considered torturers. For me, actually, a person that is following, and this is something that I will cover most probably in another video, but I need to mention it today. Today, those that are following Torah, those that are following literally what is written in the Devar of YaHuWaH, could be considered terrorists. And we all know how the world is so concerned about terrorism nowadays, and how those preaching or sharing messages that the governments can consider as hate messages could be considered terrorist. So my understanding, and that's why I think we are living on the end times as well, just looking at this example, is that the two witnesses, as in the way that I see it, are going to be considered terrorists, because they are going to be sharing the word of YaHuWaH, the truth of YaHuWaH, as it is literally written in the scriptures, performing these great wonders, these great signs, that is going to be totally opposite to what the world is doing nowadays. The world is going astray, but very astray, totally afar of the Devar of YaHuWaH and the way of YaHuWaH. So these two witnesses are going to be considered terrorists. And that's why the people of the earth are going to be so happy that these two terrorists, these two people that are doing these great signs and are giving these tremendous messages that is totally opposite to the way that the world is living and the society is living, are already killed. Okay? It's important because this is basically the scenario in the world. It's already prepared for this. It's already prepared for the persecution for those that are standing for YaHuWaH, for those that are believing literally what is written in the Devar of YaHuWaH, for those that are believing in the truth in the Devar of YaHuWaH. They are going to be persecuted, and the scenario is already in our days. Those are considered fundamentalists that are following directly what is written in the Devar of YaHuWaH, they are going to be considered most probably terrorists. And in the same is going to happen with the two witnesses. Let's continue in the verse 11. And after the 3.5 days, a Ruach, spirit of life from Elohim, entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. And great fear fell on those who saw them. And they heard a loud voice from the Shamayim saying to them, come up here. And this is very important, because we see resurrection happening here in these two witnesses. And we see a voice of the Shamayim calling them to come up to the Shamayim. And this is totally connected with the sign of the Ben Adam. We don't see it here, but we will see it somehow later on this study, and it's connected to the resurrection as well. Let's continue. And they went up into the Shamayim in a cloud, and their enemies saw them. Okay? And in that hour there came to be a great earthquake. It's important because we already saw in the previous study a great earthquake, and we will see how this is connected with the earthquake we already saw in the previous part of this study. And a tenth of the city fell, and in the earthquake 7,000 men were killed. What city he's talking about here? The great city, Jerusalem. So let's continue again. And in the earthquake 7,000 men were killed, and the rest became afraid and gave steam to Elohim of the Shamayim. So we see different aspects of the prophecy here, different keys that we were going to review now, but the important thing here is to identify the keys and also to understand when in the timeline the witnesses are going to perform their prophecy. So let's continue. So what are the main keys that we already identify? The first key is a sign. Is Jerusalem under the control of the nation, as we already saw. And why this is a sign? Because we already know that Jerusalem is under the control of the state of Israel. Okay? And there is a tremendous dispute that they are occupying the old city and Jerusalem without breaking the international law. This is the whole discussion that is happening since the Six-Day War in the 1967. And you that have been following the different news about it are aware that there is a lot of resolution from the United Nations against this occupation from the state of Israel. And I think I already mentioned what's my understanding and what I believe is going to happen with the Jerusalem in previous videos. And that's why Jerusalem is the center of what's going to happen, because we see here in this chapter that Jerusalem is going to be under the control of the nation for a specific period of time, 42 months. And if we do the calculations, basically 42 months, as I said, multiplied for 30 days, we have 1,260 days. It's exactly the same timing for the two witnesses to prophesy. And it's exactly the same timing that we saw in the key 7.7. And what is the key 7.7? Is when we're analyzing the Revelation chapter 13. And it's the time that the first beast is going to receive authority. The first beast is going to have authority for 42 months. This is exactly the same time. Jerusalem under the control of the nation for 42 months is the same time that the first beast is going to have authority over the entire world. There is not coincidence. This is totally connected. And it's my belief, and I will share this with you later in this series, is that the first beast is going to control the world, is going to govern the world directly from Jerusalem during this period of time. That's why we see here in Hazon, Revelation 11, that Jerusalem is going to be under the control of the nation. Okay? So, the second key, the key number 2, is also a sign. Why? Because we will see when the two witnesses appear on the world scenario. This sign is the two witnesses that will prophesy for 1,260 days. 1,260 days. So, as I said, this is totally connected to the previous period of time, the 42 months, and it's exactly connected to the same key, the 7.7, is the period of time that the beast will rule over the world. Okay? So the key number 3 is the two witnesses are the two olive trees and the two lampstands. As I said, we will not analyze the details of this, but it's important to consider this key. And as I said in the previous video, take note of those keys, because those are the ones that are helping us to connect the dots to connect the prophecies. And the important thing is that they will have, as I said, authority to perform the supernatural signs and wonders in front of the eyes of the entire world. So the key number 4 is that the beast coming up from the sea will fight and kill them. So, as I said previously in the previous slide, the beast needs to be ruling the world in order for this to happen. In order for the beast, the first beast, because it's the first beast, the one is coming up from the sea, the one that is persecuting the Koleshim, is the one that is going to be ruling the world. The beast needs to be ruling the world during these 42 months in order to fight with the two witnesses and kill them. So it's during the same period of time. And why it's so important? Because we see all the other connection here, the key number 7.9. Because we saw when we were analyzing the first beast in the prophecy in Revelation chapter 13, is that the first beast is the one that is going to fight with the Koleshim and is going to overcome them. And we saw in that moment that this is directly connected to the fifth seal, when a number of Koleshim, a number of chosen one, will be killed during the Great Tribulation, the Great Distress. And it's going to be the first beast, the one that is going to persecute the Koleshim, is the same beast, is exactly the same situation of this first beast persecuting and killing the two witnesses. Okay? And also, we saw in the key 7.10 is that the first beast is going to have authority over all the world. So that's why it's going to be persecuting the two witnesses. And we saw in the key 8.2 is basically this first beast is the man of lawlessness. And in the previous video of this series, we analyzed when the man of lawlessness, when the first beast will appear in the scenario, in the timeline of events of the end times. Important for you to understand this, and we will see it in the next slide with the timeline when everything is going to happen and how this is connected with when the two witnesses will perform their prophecies. The next key, the 9.5, is the great city, and we all already saw the revelation on this chapter that the great city is Jerusalem, because it was in Jerusalem when our master YaHuWaH HaMashiach was impaled, and he was impaled as a sin offering for us in order to give us the opportunity to come back to our important to keep this in mind. The great city is Jerusalem, and we already saw that Jerusalem during that period of time will be under the control of the nations. The key number 6 is basically what I already told you. The two witnesses will be considered as torturers. And as I said, it's my belief that since they are going to be revealing and sharing the truth of YaHuWaH, and we know that the truth is His Devar, His word, literally believing in the word of YaHuWaH, the two witnesses are going to be considered terrorists. We know everything that's going to happen is happening nowadays with the LGBTQ community. All the laws, all the policies that are being implemented in different countries of the world, we see how the world is going astray on this aspect and in different other aspects. Can you imagine what's going to happen when the two witnesses are speaking totally against all of the world, all what the world is doing so far? They are going to be considered that they are preaching hate messages, and that's why they will be considered terrorists, because they are not having love from the other people. They are intolerant to the other people, on the other beliefs, on all the other way to live. So that's why they will be considered torturers, and they're going to be considered terrorists. And this is exactly the same that is happening to us in our days. Let's continue. The key number 9.7 is also a sign, and this is the resurrection after 3.5 days, an ascension to Shamayim. And this is important because we will see how this is connected to the seals, how this is connected to the timing of the sign of the Ben Adam. Okay? And the important aspect here that is happening, basically, is the great earthquake. At the same hour of the resurrection, at the same hour of their ascension to the Shamayim. And we already saw a great earthquake happening, and this was in the part number 4 of this series, when we were discussing the different aspect of the word of Mashiach in YaHuWaH, Matthew chapter 24. And we saw this sign as well, the great earthquake in all the earth, when the mountains and the island moved out of their places. And when that was happening, and let me read it for you, this is in the book of YaHuWaH, Matthew chapter 24, verse 29, and it says, "And immediately after the distress, the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the Shamayim, and the powers of the heaven, the Shamayim, shall be shaken." So it's basically this great earthquake is after the great tribulation, and how this, we saw it already, is connected to the seals, and this is in the book of Revelation, Sefer Hazon, Revelation chapter 6, and this is in the verse 12, chapter 6, verse 12. It says the following: "And I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and saw a great earthquake came to be, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of the Shamayim fell to the earth, as a fig tree drops its unripe figs, being shaken by strong wind. And the Shamayim departed like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place." It's exactly the same event, and we already talked about this in a previous video. So we see there is a great earthquake that is destroying somehow the great city, Jerusalem. Half of the city is going to fall down. So it's my belief is that this great earthquake is totally connected to the earthquake foretold by Yahushua after the Great Tribulation. So let's analyze the timeline, and let's see how this fits in the entire sequence of events. So we see here the timeline, and this is the last one that we saw at the end of the video, the part number 8. And we see here what I already saw. We see the completion or of the last moment of the great distress, when the sun, the moon, are darkened, and the star falls, and the Shamayim is shaken. It's totally related to the great earthquake foretold by Yahushua HaMashiach. So, and we see here that the first beast will have authority for 42 months, and it's the first beast that are gonna fight with the Kodashim and gonna overcome them. So we see that the beast is gonna rule the world during this entire period of time. So we see that the two witnesses are gonna perform their prophecies during the same period of time, the 1260 days, because this period of time is exactly the same period of time for the 42 months. And we already saw that this beast, when the beast is ruling, is the one who's going to persecute the two witnesses. So what it means is that during the same period of time, Jerusalem is going to be under the dominion, the control over of the nations for 42 months. So during the entire period of time of the Great Tribulation, the Jerusalem is going to be under the dominion of the nation. And why is so important? Because we already saw that one of the signs that the abomination of desolation is coming to Jerusalem, to the Temple Mount most probably, is going to be the armies in Jerusalem. And the abomination is going to be established on the Temple Mount. So how this is going to fit with all of this is because Jerusalem, from this moment on, is going to be under the dominion of the nations during the same period of time of the rulership of the first beast for 42 months. It's exactly the same time that the two witnesses are going to perform their prophecy. So what it means? It means that the two witnesses are going to appear exactly on the moment of the great distress. And why this is so important? Because during the darkest hour, the most complicated hour for the chosen ones, for the bride, for the people of YaHuWaH, YaHuWaH is sending the two witnesses in order to have the testimony of these two people, in order to lead, in order to help the people of YaHuWaH to follow the way of YaHuWaH, not to get deceived, because those that we are trying to follow and understand the way of YaHuWaH, we will see and we will understand the messages of the two witnesses. And we will see that we will be able to identify the two witnesses because of the truth and the message they are performing. So this is an extra help in the way that I see it, that YaHuWaH is sending to us in order to help His people during this period of time. And it's exactly the same words of Yahushua when he said that He's gonna be with us until the end of the world. So He's sending the two messages, the two witnesses, in order to help us during this period of time, in order to not to be deceived, but the same signs and wonders that are going to happen during the same period of time, because we already saw that the second beast is going to perform signs and wonders of falsehood. We already saw in the words of Shaul that false prophets are going to come and going to perform signs and wonders. We also saw that the first beast, the man of lawlessness, is going to appear by the working of Satan with signs and wonders of falsehood. And we also saw in the words of Yahushua in Matthew 24 that during this period of time, false prophets and false teachers and false messiahs will appear, and they will try even to deceive the chosen ones. So during this period of time of so much confusion, YaHuWaH is sending the two witnesses in order to help His people to understand the two ways, the way of YaHuWaH and the way of the world. Okay? So if we analyze the 1260 days, is basically we see that at the end of the prophecy, an earthquake is going to happen. And it's exactly after the distress of those days is that this earthquake is happening on the world. And it's exactly connected to the 6 seals and the 7th seal, when after that the sign of the Ben Adam will appear on the Shamayim. And it's in this moment when the resurrection of the two witnesses will happen. Okay? So it's important that, and we will see later on the study, that it's my belief that these 3 events are going to happen very close to each other. And that's why we see basically the resurrection of the two witnesses happening after the distress of those days, and connected directly to the earthquake that is the sign after the distress and the tribulation of those days, and somehow connected to the sign of the Ben Adam, with the two witnesses being resurrected and going to the Shammai. So the important aspect here, just to close the analysis of this timeline, that we are seeing evidence everywhere in the different prophecies that we have been analyzing so far, that this period of time of the great distress is going to last 1260 days. that from the calendar of YaHuWaH, it means 3.5 years or 42 months. And it's the same thing that we are already analyzed in the words of Daniel, the time, times, and half a time, meaning 3.5 years, meaning 42 months, meaning 1260 days. So it's so amazing to see how the different sequence of events, how YaHuWaH is helping us during all the time, because He's cleansing the earth and He is cleansing His people. That's the entire purpose, as we already discussed during this series so far, of this period of time, is to cleanse His people. Okay? And we see the different aspects and the different signs. So that's from this part, the part number 9. Okay? In the next part, the part number 10, I'm gonna share with you an important aspect, and I think it's gonna be the last analysis of the events of the Great Distress. And we are gonna discuss about the Revelation 12. We are not gonna discuss and we are not gonna analyze the entire Revelation 12. We are gonna focus our attention on the dragon. And for those of you that already heard the interview that I have with Rob Skiba, what I'm going to share with you in this part number 10 is exactly what I was sharing with you in that discussion. We will see how the dragon and how Revelation 12 is giving us an additional clue, an additional keys in order to understand the events of the Great Distress. And we will see how the dragon is connected in all the events that are going to happen on the last days, and how it's connected to the first beast and the persecution of the Kodeshim. So this is what we're going to analyze in the part number 10. So far, I want to thank you for watching this video. I hope the information was clear. Keep praying for the body of Mashiach. Keep praying, keep me in your prayers in order to continue with this work. As I said at the beginning, we are living in exciting times, but also dangerous at the same time. So we need to keep our trust in YaHuWaH. We need to keep praying to YaHuWaH to give us the understanding, and also to prepare us for what is coming to the world. It's my strong belief that we will see very soon things happening in the world. I'm not saying that everything is going to happen this year, but we are seeing so compelling events that are happening in the world, and we see some fulfillment of prophecies that are happening nowadays that it's difficult not to believe that something can happen very soon. We cannot say for with 100% certainty that everything is going to happen this year or next year. But that's why we need to watch at all time, understanding the prophecies, understanding the timeline, understanding the events and the signs, and also watching in parallel what's happening in the world, what's happening with the countries, what happened with the different aspects of our society, to see how these prophecies are fulfilling and how maybe we are very close to what we are seeing here in this study of the events that we are studying, with the signs that we are seeing in this timeline. So keep our prayers. Let's keep our prayers, because that's the only way that YaHuWaH will lead us and guide us during these dangerous and also somehow amazing times that we are living. So I hope you enjoyed the video, enjoy your Shabbat, and I will see you in the next part. Shabbat Shalom. Bye.